Let's begin with senior national correspondent Aishah Hasnie on Capitol Hill. Aishah.
Harris, good morning to you. A lot of Democrats are raging this morning because this deal does not include their crown jewel issue. The one thing that they have been fighting for the last 40 days, that is to extend the Obamacare subsidies. It's not in this package. So last night, instead, those eight centrists agreed with Republicans on this deal to hold a vote on the Obamacare subsidies later on in December. There's no guarantee that that vote is going to pass. There's no guarantee the House would ever take it up. Here are some of those centrists explaining why they went for this.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
It was our judgment, after 6 weeks, going on 7 weeks of this shutdown, that path wasn't working.
So Democrats are furious. Some of them are calling for Chuck Schumer's head and saying that this was a huge mistake. Gavin Newsom writing on X, tonight's Senate vote on the federal government shutdown should have been a time for strength. Instead, we saw capitulation and a betrayal of working Americans. The American people need more from their leaders. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson has not officially recalled the House, but he did tell his House members to begin their journeys back to the Hill because he wants to get this done as quickly as possible. The Senate is trying to work on a time agreement right now to skip all the Senate steps to get to final passage. That could happen sometime in the next 2 days. Harris?
Aishah, that's really important because that would really speed up this timeline if there were steps to be kind of pushed to the side for this purpose. I'll get into that with my first guest. Great to see you. Thank you very much. Well, while Democrats fight against the plan to end the record-breaking shutdown, air travel is only getting worse for everybody right now in America. We are on the 4th day of the FAA cutting flights from 40 of the largest airports in the U.S. The number of flights that have been cut will go up another 2% tomorrow. So this is like a phase-in progressive thing until they get to a lot of them on the ground. And we're just hopeful that they can work through the process, as Aishah just talked about, to keep this from hitting Thanksgiving and that travel. Those flight disruptions look like they will only get worse, more severe during that busiest holiday travel period at this point. Today alone, more than 1,600 flights already have been canceled. More than 3,000 flights delayed already. It's not even noon yet on the East Coast. That comes after another brutal travel nightmare over the weekend. More than 4,500 flights canceled, a staggering 18,000 flights delayed. And not by a little bit either. Newark was cooking at about 893 minutes on Thursday and Friday at one point. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
It's only going to get worse. I look to, the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're going to see air travel be reduced to a trickle. I used to have about 4 controllers retire a day before the shutdown. I'm now up to 15 to 20 a day are retiring. So it's going to be harder for me to come back after the shutdown. The only political play here is Chuck Schumer. The safety team looked at data, made a recommendation to me, and it's a hard decision, but that's what we've done to keep people safe.
It is hard decision time. The Democrats know all about that as they caved. Thank God for the country. National correspondent Bryan Llenas is at Newark International Airport. So, Bryan, I was just saying to our viewers that some of those wait times were more than 14 hours at one point. How's it looking now?
Well, it's looking like right now there are just 15-minute delays on the runway. There are about over 100 cancellations, about 100 delays. So far, not as bad as yesterday, but the cancellations and delays just continue to go up. Yesterday was the worst travel day at airports since this shutdown began. And frankly, it was largely because of air traffic controllers who were calling out and not showing up for work. The Transportation Secretary says that was due to economic necessity. President Trump, though, this morning has a message, though, for those air traffic controllers controllers, saying he is not happy for those who are not showing up for work. President Trump writing, quote, all air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democrat shutdown hoax, I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country. On Saturday, just for an example, 18 of 22 air traffic controllers did not show up for work in Atlanta. Controller shortages compounded nationwide on Sunday, leading to more than 10,000 delays and nearly 3,000 cancellations. The FAA is also mandating those airlines to further reduce their flights by 6% tomorrow and by 10% this Friday. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the decision to reduce the flight numbers is about safety, not politics. He's also sympathizing with many of these air traffic controllers who are missing work, he says, because they have to put food on the table, working other gigs. As for today, if you look at FlightAware's misery map, there are more than 2,700 delays and over 1,600 cancellations. The worst of it so far at both Chicago airports, Atlanta, LaGuardia, New York City, and right here in Newark, where we spoke to travelers.
Wasn't bad flying here last week, but, you know, it's hitting us today.
I feel bad for the TSA guys. I just still don't understand how they're not getting paid. I mean, it's terrible.
Everybody, you know, still needs a paycheck, but it just is what it is, you know. Regardless of what your politics are, we still need to think about others.
Even before this shutdown, Harris, the FAA says they were 3,500 air traffic controllers short of being fully staffed. You've got thousands of them who are working 10-hour days, 6 days a week, mandatory. It's a tough situation out there. Harris.
It's tough for everybody. Imagine trying to feed your kids and you need food assistance and you can't get it. Bryan, Llenas, thank you. Headlines highlighting Democrats' anger over advancing the bill to open the government because they just want people to continue to suffer so they can use their so-called leverage. Show me again the receipt on the leverage, because I don't get that part. Anyway, Hakeem Jeffries' progressive Democrats rage against deal to end shutdown. Another, Dems go ballistic over Senate shutdown deal. And here's part of it. The deal threatens to open the deep divisions that have been roiling the Democrat Party all year, and the widespread opposition to it among House Democrats could complicate its path to passage. Oh, great. Another slowdown. Here are some furious lawmakers on the left, in their own words.
What this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense?
I can't explain it because, to be frank, to me, it makes absolutely no sense. I'm completely perplexed by today's developments.
I've been working throughout the past few weeks to try to prevent this moment. There's no way to defend this. And you are right to be angry about it. I'm angry about it.
Republican Congressman Mike Lawler of New York, member of the Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. Great to see you. My first question comes right out of Aishah's reporting. Apparently, there's some steps on the table to shorten the process that it will take to get this back into the House, get it passed there, and then go to the president. Will we actually see those steps taken to speed this up?
Hopefully, Harris. I mean, this shutdown has dragged on for over 40 days. Democrats, in their meltdown over the last 12 hours, basically have admitted that they did this in order to try and fight back against Trump, and they used the American people as leverage. And unfortunately, they've created chaos at our airports for those Americans that rely on SNAP and WIC, and for those federal employees that have not received a paycheck in over a month. It's outrageous, and they deserve every little bit of criticism they are getting because of what they've done to the American
Lawler?
people. So I hope procedurally it moves quickly, and that when we're in D.C. On Wednesday, we get this done.
Look, I have to press this point, because we now are more than stuck. We're bleeding as a nation. Like, there are people who are suffering in ways that I know you go home to New York and you hear some of it. I've been traveling crisscrossing the country in the last few days, trying to get from this to that. And it's nearly impossible to do that. And at every choke point, there are people who are trying to stretch their snacks in airport waiting areas. They just don't have the money to do what they need to do. And some of them are now trying to travel to get to a part-time job. Maybe there's something over there. Maybe I could drive there. Like, we're beyond the point of I hope. Hope is not a strategy. Prayer is, and we're going to do that. But what does it take to get this situation to speed up? What are those steps like?
Well, the Senate, unfortunately, has their procedural hurdles, which, to your point, the American people don't care about that. They care about this bill getting passed, the government reopening, federal employees getting paid, SNAP and WIC being fully funded. And so it's imperative on the Senate to expeditiously move this. I think the House needs to bring the Rules Committee back immediately. As soon as passage of that bill is done in the Senate, the House Rules Committee needs to convene, needs to pass the rule, and we need to immediately vote for passage. So I am, it's easy from New York. It takes me 4 hours to drive to D.C., given some of the air traffic issues. But we need to be back in D.C. immediately. We need to pass this. We need to get the government open and running, and we need to do the people's business. There is a lot to deal with when we get back. It's not just the government funding. So we need to get down there as quickly as possible and get this bill passed.
And I know that House Speaker will make that decision. Any indication that that could happen like tomorrow?
Yeah, I think obviously tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so I would suspect this bill is going to pass by Wednesday.
Okay.
That would be, what I think is realistic at this moment.
Congressman Lawler, thank you very much. Great information from you. Appreciate it always.
Thanks, Harris.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.